everybody, welcome back to the next episode of Hot Mics. It's been a minute. Micah, what's up, my friend?
Dude, you're right. It has been a minute, and it feels like longer than it actually has. But our schedule's kind of crazy, yours and mine both. So, been on the road. Saw you in Atlanta. I'll say, man, that was the first time I'd been a part of a conference like that with you guys the other week, and I really appreciate that invite, man. I got a lot of good feedback and met some amazing people in your world outside of the co-op space. So thanks, man. How was that, overall? Did you guys get a lot of feedback? I had to get out of town. I didn't get to stay for the whole thing.
Yeah, people love when you introduce new people to them. One of the traps we fall into, and I guess you could say it's probably true for just about every conference, people who host conference and put agendas together and bring in speakers. It's tough to keep the message fresh. And the attendees really like to hear a different perspective. And one of the things that I was very deliberate about is making sure we have the industry represented. Now, obviously, a NECA safety conference is tailored for NECA members, but our NECA members are operating in investor-owned environments. They're operating in cooperative environments, private industry. So the more folks you can have come from all over and give their point of view is important, right? Because we get trapped in our silos, dude. We stay. This is our world. This is how we do things. They can do what they want, but this is how we do things. And for safety professionals, that's a disservice because we're better together.
Mm. Yeah, you're almost putting yourself, at a disadvantage, not having some of that network, not having some of those other industry experts. So that's really cool, man. That's a good perspective. I'm in a little different spot now, man.
Yeah.
I'm in my field office today. If you couldn't tell, worked out kind of cool this morning. I'm at our training center here at the Electric Co-ops of South Carolina, our Hoyt Williams Training Center. So that's why I got the backdrop. You may see some boys ride in a minute this morning. We got some meetings later today, but yeah, where's the last place you were at since Atlanta? On the road. I think you might have had a little vacation.
Yeah. So from after we got done with our safety conference, we went on a big trip. Me and my wife. She works in the school, so she doesn't get a whole lot of vacation during the year. So we try to do it during the summer, and sometimes it's little trips. But this year we scheduled a big boy. We went out and saw some friends out in Denver, Colorado,
Oh, nice.
and we're campers. So we have a camper and we pulled around and we like to do that. But this was a big trip, so took a lot of planning. Where we're going to stop along the way? What's it going to cost us? How many days we're going to spend in each place? And when do we need to be back and that kind of stuff. And it was a blast. So we went out west to see them. Along the way, we stopped in a place in Oklahoma that it's called Black Mesa State Park. It's supposed to be like one of these dark sky parks, certified, where when the sun goes down, the stars come out like you wouldn't believe, and that was true.
Nice.
And
Nice.
this is the first time we went without our kids. Uh,
Whoa.
yeah, and my kids are all older and grown, so even the last trip we took, we had teenagers with us, and they're just knuckleheads carrying on the whole time. So it was peaceful, relaxing.
Yeah, man.
We hung out
Good for
under the
you.
stars.
I got my first vacation this year coming up next week. So I'm very excited myself. Good for you, man. That's a pretty good segue into some work-life balance, is it not, dude? When it comes to this trade and how much we're putting out there and how much our linemen are getting called on to with these summer storms and the heat, man. You see everybody posting everything. There's flooding going on everywhere. We're getting some crazy hours. So, man, work-life balance is tough, Mike. How do you attack work-life balance when you're talking to your guys?
It's a tough
Yeah,
topic,
exactly.
right? Because it's a different version for each person and what they do for a living and how they get involved with the work that they do. And so, like for me, I kind of like the movement, the activity, the diversity, and where I am in a particular time and the people I'm around. There's a lot of travel. There's times when I get homesick, but I'm energized through that purpose. I feel of getting out there and connecting with people. For the linemen, It depends on how much they're working and how they're working. These guys that they're getting involved in storms this time of year, and every week is a different storm, and they're going to a different location, and they're away from mama. Uh,
Yeah.
it's tough for those guys that are working at utilities and keeping things back home, keeping everything's tied together. Sometimes, and you know this, uh, you know everybody's going on a storm, but there's just as much trouble back home, and you end up working probably just as much overtime at your house. You might not see your house because you're working 16 hours a day. Then you get home and you hop in the shower and you quick eat some leftovers, and then get in bed, wake up early in the morning, and do it all over again. So
Yeah.
my advice for the guys has always been methodic. Approach your work methodically. Don't rush into things. Understand that when you're operating in these conditions that you're not at your best. Even if you feel like you're at your best, there's just too many factors happening at one time, and so just slow it down. Be systematic about how you approach your work. Take care of yourself. Try not to get on these benders when you have a chance at the tailgate. Hydrate. It's cliche at this point, especially with all the heat talk, and everybody jumps on it and wants to share a message, and that's great. But just don't glaze over that the fact that you got to drink water all the time. You got to be proactive about it, and eat right and sleep right and all that stuff. So it's really just about taking care of yourself.
All right, so I love that because you got my mind going somewhere. I think every lineman, I think every safety professional, I think most, can't say every, in the trades, they know about drinking. Oh yeah, we've heard it all. It's hot. Drink, drink, drink. I don't know if we do a great job of when we're supposed to drink.
Yeah.
And how much the day before and the night before is the prep work for the next day, instead of, just as soon as you get out on the job, better start drinking, or as soon as you come down and take a break. We all know, I hope, that's way too late. You've reached the point of no return if you start right then. So that's a good point, man. That's a really good point. And another thing, these guys having to do these storms and work and travel like they are, again with the heat and everything, man. At least around here, it's like clockwork. 4 o'clock thunderstorms coming every day. And so I was at a co-op yesterday where the management got up after my meeting and said, hey, we brought you in at different work hours. I think that's another thing that a lot of companies can do too. They've shifted the hours in the summer at a lot of my co-ops to come in at 6 and get off a little early to try to dodge some of that heat. And they're planning their meetings in the afternoon and not the morning, in the cool of the morning. So I really like that from an organizational standpoint too, being very proactive, taking care of their people, shifting schedules around. And the CEO where I was at yesterday was like, hey, when you go home, I know you got grass to cut, but take it easy. Take it easy. Make sure you're getting that rest. Yeah, that's right. Make sure you're getting that rest you need. And it's kind of funny. He made a joke about it. He was like, because we may have to call you back in. But he was joking. He was like, but seriously, take care of yourself. Do the best you can. There's a big difference between rest and sleep. So, man, I love that approach. And I love hearing that it's not just the co-ops, man, that are doing that. So
think about the anxiety. You've been there. It's the end of your day. You're cleaned up. You're doing your paperwork in the write-up room, and there's storms pending, and it's we're going to hold people for a little bit, and you're sitting there and you're waiting and they cut you loose because it doesn't look like it's going to turn anything. You don't even make it home yet, and they're like, guess what? It did turn into something, and we need you back here. And just what does that do for a person's mindset? What when you were talking about the hydration, it lit something up in my brain. The when piece. Yes, the examples you gave, I think that's even a better case scenario than what we really have. Getting down from the pole and having a drink, I think that's better case than what we really have. What we really have is people don't start hydrating the right way until they start feeling it. They're starting to feel bad, and so it's just like every other hazard that we deal with, honestly. Our guys tend to only want to address it when they're in it. And so being proactive, think about it in advance.
That's the upstream thinking, that we're trying to do, with creating awareness with stuff like this. We hope, if anybody's seeing our stuff or listening, or there's any safety directors out there on their mission trying to do the same thing. And man, you know how we work when we're talking, man. I love how this stuff flows. You said creates a lot of anxiety. I'm just flooded with all these memories of, man, maybe not getting held up at the office, but getting home and getting that shower and sitting down, and then it rings.
Yep.
And then it rings, and you got to go right back. And man, that does create some tension and some stress and some anxiety on a whole different level. So, you know, you and I talk about this a lot, man. We just came off of the heels of a lot of mental health awareness the past 2 months too, while
Yeah.
you and I were on the road. So, man, the heat could play a factor in that. You know, it's just going to add to the environment. It's going to add to the stress. It's going to add to the potential anxiety we can have in the job itself. You know, it's interesting to think about how all these things layer and
Yeah.
compound on one another.
Well, if you take your ideal state, whatever that is, mind, body, and soul, your ideal state, there's things that add to your performance and there's things that take
Yeah,
away.
take away.
All the things that we've just been talking about take away. And if you're not doing anything to add in some additional capacity, yes,
Yeah,
it's a physical health problem, but you're right, it becomes a mental health problem because you start to not to be at your best. You start to get frustrated. Maybe you get thrown a couple curveballs that are outside of your control. Now you're feeling like life's stacking up against you. And you get away from home. A lot of our guys, they spend a lot of time away from home. Whether they're chasing big construction projects or these storms or just because of the nature you go where the work is. When you're not around mama and you're not around what's going on with your bank account and your grass is out of shape and you just busted a water line and your kid's got a ballet concert and all this, eventually you start getting frustrated and then you start, well, maybe the only thing I got is hanging out with my boys here and we're gonna throw them back each night, and then you start to really tear down, your physical health, and before you know it, you get very desperate and concerned about things in a way that's dangerous.
yeah, and when you're doing that, it's coping mechanisms that are
Yep,
creating a new normal.
that's right.
And now that tends to lend toward the idea that that's the only thing that can get you by. That's the only thing that makes you happy or feel comfortable or in a space to where you can block it all out or maybe even numb to it in certain situations. So yeah, it's a real thing, man. And like you said, it compounds. It compounds, and if we're not good this many years in the game, 100 years in the industry at drinking water and doing self-care physically, which we tend to not do,
Hmm.
I feel confident we're not doing a good job with our self-care on our mental state too. So I'm thankful that working here at the co-ops in South Carolina, man, we've been given an opportunity to kind of not spearhead or get in front of anything, but I've never sat in a lot of safety meetings, Mike, talking about mental health. I
Yeah.
don't know about you. Maybe you
Mm-mm.
have, but I
Well,
hadn't talked about any. And
think about how it used to be. I'm not going to get in your business. That what's your business, your business. When you're on your time, it's your time. And so, as an employer or a manager or a leader, you were you felt like you were unprepared for that conversation, or maybe even like it's not even your role to have that conversation. And
yep,
that's, I think, is the big shift as we recognize, yeah, you can't change everything that's going on in a person's life, but you can educate them on, what things can be occurring and how to sort of like protect
yeah,
themselves a little better, and you can take care of the things that happen in the workplace, these pressures, these things that add to that kind of chaos in the workplace. What do you do to help with financial literacy with your people? What do you do with health and wellness and hydration and diet and exercise? What kind of messaging do you do around that? Do you give people time to address issues when they pop up? So there's things you can do as an employer that can make a big difference, and you can beyond just an employee assistance program, call phone number, hey, I can help you out. There's things you can do that are more proactive, and I think that's what we're starting to see developing in the trade, and I love that.
yes, and all those things are great and have their place. And we've had an opportunity here through one of our journeyman workshop classes to expand on that a little bit. When you're talking about being a leader, being visible, knowing what some of those signs and symptoms are, know what some of those triggers might be, and then, man, it's tough because linemen are bulletproof, and
Hmm.
we wear capes, and nothing ever is ever wrong, and man, it's a really eye-opening thing to be a part of some of that work we're doing. So, man, if you don't care, man, we started this cool initiative here in one of our training classes, really trying to help tear down some of the stigma and stereotypes of mental health. And we're using a cool whole tag program to do it. And we flipped it on its head. It's not lockout, tag out anymore. It's lean on and tag out. And we're trying to teach these guys, frontline supervisors or anybody, man, it's all right. Life gets busy, life gets heavy, life gets chaotic, and we see accidents. You and I have been tracking accidents and injuries for years, and you hear stuff like, "Oh man, his head wasn't in it," or "Hey, why'd you lose focus?"
Right.
And what are you doing? You're distracted. You know, your head wasn't right, and all these other things. Well, we're trying to, again, not be detectives or nosy or get into people's business, but why are our heads not right sometimes? Well, there's a lot going on. And do we know that? And do we give them a space to say, man, life's heavy right now? And so we're
Hmm.
using hold tags to say, what can we help you hold? Is there anything we can help you hold and carry? And trying to teach guys how to be leaned on and how to lean on others that are around them, that they can have help. And then tag out as saying, man, I'm having an off day. Man, I got some stuff going on. I'm not right. And I'm thankful years ago, Mike, I had a crew leader who saw me and knew something was going on in my life. And he said, "Hey, you okay?" And it took me a minute and took me about 3 questions for me to finally go, no, no. And he hid and waited on me in the employee parking lot. He did. And he waited on me before I got in the office, man. And he said, "No, I figured something was up, man. You seem off." And so
Wow.
I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful for our industry starting to recognize that it's okay to have some of these conversations and tear down stereotypes for linemen that, man, it's all right to be off. It's okay to have an off day. And you know what these tags represent? That's something not in a normal state.
That's right.
That's an identifier. And so, man, we're using these to really create some cool conversation, and we've had a lot of success with it, and I'm thankful to be a part of it and have the organization and support it, and our co-op support it too. They realize it's a big deal. I did it at my co-op yesterday, and the CEO got up and said, "Listen, it's going to be a different safety meeting today, but you're going to hear it from me that your mental health is just as important to us as your physical health." And man, that's so awesome to hear coming from management.
Yeah. Well, I think we fooled ourselves into thinking the stigma was with the guys, and my experience has been the stigma is with the leadership team. We were afraid to have that conversation. We were afraid to offend. We were afraid to gauge with our workers in a way that was different than just talking about nuts and bolts. And what I
Yeah,
found is they are hungry for it. As soon as you make it okay to talk about, man,
yeah,
I mean, we're doing things, whether it's in various chapters around the country or different local unions or different apprenticeships. We're bringing in speakers and we're having classes and we're doing mental health first aid and we're having
nice.
team building exercises and we're talking about all kinds of things that if 10 years ago, if you would have said that this is the kind of conversations we're going to have at our safety meetings, I would have said, I don't believe you. And I would
Right,
have said that the guys wouldn't like it. But
right.
the opposite is true. They're hungry for it.
And man, I've talked to some experts in the past 6 months that I've had a chance to meet since I had a chance to go to Alaska and be a part of a conference there and make some connections and network like we were talking about earlier, man. And the experts that I've talked to said, "Micah, you're not there to answer all the problems. You're not there to answer all the questions. You're just there to create space for somebody to anonymously write something down and feel comfortable enough to write it down and say, hey, man, this life is going on." And so we ask them, "Hey, write down the heaviest thing you're carrying right now, Mike. Mike, I've been doing this for a couple months. I haven't had one yet where somebody wrote down the heaviest thing they were carrying was the work they were doing.
Yeah, or
It
something
was the
worse than
pole.
that.
It was the poles. It was the poles they had to change out. It was the work. No, it's about life. It's about home. the heaviest thing they're carrying is in their families and the things outside of work. And so what does that mean? That means we're bringing some of that into work. And so when you have something happen, there needs to be real good, thorough investigations of what was going on that day.
Right.
Is everything okay? Where was your mind at? And again, I don't want to create a narrative that doesn't exist and say that everybody, no. And we're not here to talk about our feelings. I'm just here to keep it real and say that your mind is such a powerful tool that leads into decision making, and it's affected by our environment and our emotions. So it's a real thing. I got linemen that are doing it. Linemen are writing this stuff down, man. It's been cool to see. They're opening up to it. You're exactly right.
What do you think the average time spent at work is for a lineman, proportionate to time at home, percentage-wise?
Oh my God, awake or just at home?
Awake. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Awake.
I mean, we're 8 and 10 hours a day, and then 4 hours at the house.
Yeah.
And then the recliner passed out or in the bed, or then when we're at home, we're doing our chores. I got 10 acres of grass to cut, and I got stuff to fix on the house, and man, we're probably crossing. I know my career. Me and Mama cross like this, and hey, how are you? And see you, and hey, and before you know it, you're in bed and back, doing it
Early
over
morning
and
kiss
over.
on the cheek while they're still sleeping. That's what it normally is for me.
That's it. I did it this morning. Trying not to wake her up with a kiss goodbye, so I don't get scolded for not telling her goodbye and waking her up. Right.
Well, the point
is,
is, these guys spend more time at.
Yeah,
You could argue, you could at least say they spend just as much time in the workplace as they do at home.
Oh yeah.
So, we have a duty, I think, as safety professionals to acknowledge that, we have a responsibility to these folks to help make sure that they have, OSHA says a health and safety, safe and healthy workplace, free from recognized hazards. Why would mental health be any different?
So we've never put it at the forefront, or it's something that hasn't really been, talked about. And then thankfully, we got numbers now to support it. You can actually track data on this stuff now. The utilities are in the construction numbers for now, which is okay, but I believe some of these other industry experts I've talked to and some people at Quanta are about to bring some true data to the industry itself, not just in the construction space. So yeah, if you go do the digging on this and the research on substance abuse and self-harm, it's a real thing. And the numbers have passed what we saw in military service, which who'd ever thought that? Because that's where you always hear, mental health and PTSD is an issue reserved to those who experience some type of major trauma in a military environment, or those people who spent years in the service. Dude, the construction numbers have blown those numbers out of the water. It is crazy. So I'm thankful that we get to bring attention to it, bring awareness to it, and make it part of what we're doing to keep these guys safe, man. So what you getting into the next week? What's on the radar?
Well, we've got a couple things going on next week. Got a contractor event where we're going to go up and just do a little welcome message and a little pep talk for the guys. And I really like doing that. When you have a contractor that invests in their people enough to pull them off the street for the day or two, and bring in speakers and put on a good lunch and make it fun, but also make it educational, safety and leadership focus. I'm all about it. I'm just a phone call away for them kind of things. As long as my schedule's open, I'll do as many as I can do, because I think that's where the rubber hits the road. It builds camaraderie. It builds a sense of belonging within a company, and it does everything we just talked about. So I'm going to go do one of those, and then the following week is what we call the National Training Institute (NTI), and that's where all of our apprenticeship programs, whether it's electrical construction inside wiremen or outside line construction, the line side of our business, all the apprenticeship instructors come to Ann Arbor for a week, and it's like being at college. So we have all kinds of courses set up, and you have certain curriculum, and folks that are making their way through their different levels of trainer status, they have required courses, and then there's sort of optional things that you could attend. So we'll be there all week. It ends with a graduation for folks that are graduating as top trainers, and they walk across the stage. It's like getting their diploma. It's a really
Sweet.
cool thing to recognize the effort that I think we may have talked about it before, but if you haven't, I'm going to say it again. The trainers is where it's at.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot of different things that all of us are doing, but the people who train others, who prepare others, that's where it's at.
Awesome, man. No, I agree. You got to have somebody leading the directive, somebody taking the initiative, somebody standing at the front of the room, not in a place of arrogance, but in a place of here's where we're going as a collective, a point man, so to speak. And thankful that I get to be a part of that too.
Yeah.
Here is what I'm doing. So I'm not going to any conferences, man. I'm going on vacation. That's why I wore my Hawaiian shirt today, rocking some high voltage gear, and we're going to get down to the beach, and I'm going to try my best to do some of this work-life balance next week and clock out a little bit, and then, hit the ground running in 2 weeks, back on the trail. So
rinse and repeat.
That's it, man. Well, appreciate everybody being here. We always love talking to you guys, and thanks for everybody that's still checking this stuff out and following the channel and tracking what we're doing. We're not out looking for numbers, man. We're looking to make a difference, and hopefully some of these conversations are continuing to spark some ideas for you, whether you're a safety professional or a lineman in the cab of the truck. So I got some more people rolling in. I think that's actually the boss right there. So that's good timing, man. I gotta get out of here and get inside. Right. What a great thing. Well, appreciate you guys, Mike.
Hey, dude, let me just say this before we get off. This thing started, really, if I'm being honest, it's just a way for us to stay connected, and talk and maintain some fellowship. Has turned into a way for us to promote really cool ideas and concepts and try to build some momentum behind these things. And so I wouldn't trade it in the world. And if we do once a month, that's great. If we do once every couple months, that's all right, as long as we keep it going. And so we need some guests, right? So if you folks are listening and you want to join us for a little talk, come on.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because we're going to drop some audio this week or next week too of the conversation that we had in Atlanta with Jason.
That's right.
Another industry expert rock star. So everybody can be on the lookout for that too. And again, just thankful to stay in connection with you, my friend, and appreciate the work you're doing. And thanks, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.
See y'all.